Hey guys, so in today's video you're probably not going to see a whole lot of me because I'm going to be zoomed in really close into what I want to show you today. But I watched a video of a girl that I subscribe to and her name's Cosmetics82. I think that's the numbers at the end of her name. And she did a really cool video where she showed how she transformed her MAC 15 eyeshadow palette into an eyeshadow palette that can hold a minimum of 20 shadows from MAC. And then she also did a series sort of on how to depot different eyeshadows from MAC. So in this video I'm going to show you how to transform your MAC 15 eyeshadow palette into holding 20 or 21 eyeshadows. And I'm also going to show you how to depot your MAC eyeshadows. It's actually quite simple. So I have it set up with a table that has some paper towels just in case I make a mess so that it doesn't get everywhere. I have my MAC 15 eyeshadow palette, and then I have a knife, and this one's a long sort of, I guess you call it kind of a steak knife. It kind of tapers off near the end and it's really thin, but I found that because it's tapered off to the end, it's easier to get in the nooks and crannies to pop out the little divider. So this is kind of what the 15 eyeshadow palette holds, and what we're going to do is take out this plastic piece on the top here that holds each individual eyeshadow. And in the bottom of this pan is a magnetic plate that goes all the way across. So what we're going to do is then be able to place as many shadows as we can. Instead of having so much space in between each one, we'll be able to fit more. So the way this plastic piece is held into the actual sort of case here is there's 6 little clips that run all the way around the eyeshadow palette in 6 places. There's one on each end of the shortest side of the palette, sort of in the middle of the palette, and then there's 2 on the part where it opens, sort of in the middle of each parts here, and then there's 2 near the top. So there's a total of 6. So what you're first going to do is take your knife and you're going to try to whittle it in and sort of pull up to try to pop out the piece of plastic. And you're going to just work around until you've sort of released all 6 pieces, and then hopefully it should come out easily. Alright, so you're going to go around and you're going to pop out each one. Since I've already done this, it's actually quite easy to get out. So once you do that, you take it out and you're left with the eyeshadow palette here. And this plate down here is a magnetic plate, and it doesn't really matter if it looks all pretty. I scratched mine actually just now while I was in the process of re-showing you how I did this. Not really a big deal. I'm not too worried about that. So what you're left with, like I said, is this magnetic plate. And then something I learned from Poly Cosmetics is that this magnetic plate actually isn't fastened to the bottom because there's this little plastic sheet that hangs over the top that's clipped into place. They don't glue it down for you. The way I ended up actually fastening my magnetic plate to the actual container was by taking some double-sided little sticky dots that you use for scrapbooking. Now you can use Scotch tape, you can use glue, whatever you really have on hand to glue it down. It doesn't really matter. So that's kind of how you transform it into your little palette here. So this is kind of what it looks like when you put your actual shadows in the palette. I actually have fit so far 21 eyeshadows in the palette kind of by staggering them in columns of 3. Now you probably could fit a couple of more in here by smushing them together. I have sort of opted for a little bit more attractive layout, and I've made mine go from darkest to lightest. So that's how you transform your MAC 15 shadow palette into one that holds a minimum of 20 and upwards of maybe 21 or 22. So now I'm going to teach you how to depot your eyeshadows. And usually the eyeshadows from MAC, they either come in packaging like this where they're in a pot, or you can actually purchase them to just be, which one of these? Or you can just purchase the actual pan of shadow and it comes with a magnetic on the bottom, and these ones are slightly cheaper than if you buy them in the pot like this. But for those of us who didn't think about that before purchasing them, you probably have all these little random shadows laying around, so it's really actually quite easy to depot them. So what I'm going to use is a candle. You're going to need a lighter, the knife again, and then the reason I have the paper towel is because if I for some reason do make a mess, then I have something to sort of help pick up the mess. So what you're going to do is take your eyeshadow and open it, and the first thing we're going to need to do is take the eyeshadow physically out of the pot. So what I'm going to do is take my knife and I'm going to stick it here in between the part where it clips. There's a little separation, and you're going to kind of twist your knife until you can hear it pop, and then you can just pull it out. Just like that. The other thing I forgot that you'll probably want is a pair of tweezers so that you can hold on to your pot. Alright, so now I'm going to light my candle, and then I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm going to hold the little shadow over the candle, not directly touching it, but close enough so that the heat's going to start to melt the plastic. Now, when I was depotting the rest of my shadows, I did hold it on there too long at one point, and I did start one on fire. It's not that big of a deal, you just blow on it and put it out, but it does sort of make a funny smell. So you're going to kind of work in circular motions, and then it does start to kind of melt, and you get this sort of divot in the bottom of the pan. That's good, we want that. So I can tell that this is probably melted enough. What I'm going to do is take the knife and I'm going to sort of push on the middle so that you can see that the shadow starts to come out, and I'll keep pushing until the shadow comes out. And then you've basically depotted your shadow. Now there is glue that's on the bottom of the shadow, so it can have a tendency to stick to whatever you're going to lay it on, but it will come off. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to use the candle again, and what I'm going to do is take the actual physical pot that the eyeshadow was in, and I'm going to work in circular motions very quickly and not for very long. I don't want to burn it, just very lightly heat up the label. And then you'll see, hopefully, that a corner of the label starts to come up, and then what you'll do is you'll take your knife and kind of move it along to remove the label from the pot. And then you flip over your eyeshadow and you can stick this label physically on there so that it's labeled, so that every time that you need to figure out what the actual name of the eyeshadow is, you can figure it out because the label is on the back. That's basically how you would depot your shadows. Alright, so the last thing I also forgot that you'll need is when you depot your MAC eyeshadows from these actual pots, they don't have magnets on the back of them. So what you can do is purchase some strips of magnets that have adhesive on the back of them from stores like Michael or other places. When I happened to go and look for them, I went to Target and I was unable to find them at my Target or my local grocery store. And I was a little defeated because I really wanted to teapot all of my shadows. But what I ended up doing was finding some magnets on my refrigerator that I didn't want to use anymore. And so what I did was cut those up and use those instead. So this poor little magnet was broken anyways, its arm was missing, and so I decided to sort of destroy it. So what I did was took a pair of scissors, and these just happened to be kitchen shears, and I just cut the magnet into a size that was appropriate for the back of the actual eyeshadow. And you want it to be small enough so that you can still read the name of the shadow, so this piece is small enough. Alright, so I'm going to use crazy glue to adhere my little magnet to the back, and my little crazy glue bottle kind of broke, so the little applicator came off, but I really like crazy glue because once this dries, it creates like a permanent bond, so it's great if you want something to stay in place. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this, and it also dries really fast, which is another thing that I like about it. And then I'm going to take the little piece of magnet that I've cut, and I'm going to stick that into place and push it down. What I would do is let this dry. So once your glue has dried, then you can place your eyeshadow in the palette. And now I officially have 22 eyeshadows in this palette. I hope you guys found this helpful, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you guys later.